Hey everyone, it is great to be back again, and I'm really excited to share this week's story with you. This is a story about a little boy called Arlo who does something wrong. And actually, it's not just about what he does wrong, it's about how he acts after he does something wrong. So let's read it together now, and I hope you enjoy it. It's called Arlo and the Great Big Cover-Up. It happened during a quiet rest time. Arlo noticed a scratch on the wall, just over his bed. The scratch looked like a mouth. Arlo was not allowed to get off his bed during quiet rest time, but if he kept one foot on his bed and stretched the other leg out, then maybe he could reach the markers on his desk. Then Arlo did a very naughty thing. He took the cap off the blue marker. He drew a nose and two eyes on the wall. Arlo felt funny. He was not allowed to draw on the walls, not with a pencil, not with a crayon, and above all, not with a marker. Arlo sat on the bed and thought. He took the cap off the brown marker now and drew a frame around the face. He thought the frame might make the face look like it belonged on the wall. But Arlo's square was not quite square, and he knew that his mum would not be fooled. Arlo thought some more. He grabbed some tissues from the bedside table and started scrubbing. But it was no use. The marker did not come off the wall, but it did smear altogether. Arlo had made a big blue and brown mess, and Arlo felt afraid. His mum was not going to be happy with him. He must find a way to cover up the mess on the wall before the end of quiet rest time. He got up off the bed, and this time he didn't even bother to keep one foot on. He dumped out his toy box, picked it up, and put it on the bed. It was no good. He could still see the mess on the wall. He piled up games on top of the box, but the eyes on the wall kept looking at him. His heart was beating fast. He grabbed books and toys and piled them higher. Arlo had done it. The drawing could not be seen behind the towering pile of toys. And just then, he heard his mum coming up the stairs. He scrambled under the bed. "Arlo," his mum said, "where are you?" Arlo kept quiet. His mum sat down on the bed, and all at once the tower came tumbling down. "Arlo," she said, "come out here." Arlo crawled out from under the bed, but he covered his eyes. His mum picked him up and put him in her lap. "Arlo," she said, "did you colour on the wall with a marker?" Arlo kept his hands over his eyes and shook his head. His mum pulled his hands away and looked him in the eyes. "Arlo," she said again, "did you colour on the wall with a marker?" He looked back at her, and this time he told the truth. "Yes," he said, in a voice that could barely be heard. "Did you try to cover it up?" Arlo took a deep breath. "Yes," he said, a little louder this time. "Arlo," she said, "you disobeyed when you coloured on the wall. You also disobeyed when you got off your bed to get your toys." Arlo threw his arms around his mother. I'm sorry I disobeyed." Arlo's mother gave him a tight squeeze. "I forgive you, Arlo." "Am I going to get a punishment?" he asked without letting go. "Yes, You've lost your screen time for today and tomorrow. Arlo felt a little sad. He liked to watch a video while he ate his afternoon snack, but he couldn't feel too sad while his mum was hugging him. Then Arlo had a thought. He sat up and with a worried voice he asked, "Will I always have this mess over my bed?" Arlo's mum smiled. "I thought I would get my super sponge out from under the sink and clean it off. Would you like that?" "Oh yes," Arlo said. As they walked downstairs to get the sponge, Arlo's mum said, "You know, sometimes when I do something wrong, I want to hide." Surprised, Arlo asked, "You do? Who do you hide from?" "Well, when I do something wrong, I want to hide it from God. I don't want him to know about it, and I don't want to talk to him because he might find out." "That's silly," Arlo said. "God already knows everything." "I know," said his mum. "We can't hide what we do wrong from God, and when we try, it only makes us unhappy." Arlo thought for a minute. "I was unhappy when I was hiding from you under the bed." "I know," said his mum. "And I knew that you would never be able to get the mess off the wall without my help. So I'm glad you came out and told the truth. When we tell God the truth about the things that we do wrong, he's always ready and waiting to help us. That's why he sent his son, Jesus." Arlo looked at the clean wall. He threw his arms around his mum again. "Thank you for washing off my mess," he said. "Cleaned up is so much better than covered up." So there we go. Arlo tried to cover up what he had done wrong, but in the end he just felt really bad about it. When he told the truth, his mum could actually help and make things better. And as they said in the story, sometimes we do things that are wrong, and maybe we would rather not talk about it, but God already knows. So anytime we've ever done something wrong, God's always waiting to help us, to forgive us when we say sorry. Well, that's the lesson from this week's story, and perhaps that's something you can think about this week. Maybe next time we do something that we shouldn't, you think, it's best for me to be honest and tell the truth about this and ask God to forgive me. I'm looking forward to sharing another story with you next time. Until then, have a great week.